You're listening to the Stokes podcast, real and inspiring conversations with individuals from all over the world, sharing their insights on sustainability, fashion, conscious consumerism, and empowerment. Be inspired to take action and be the change you want to see in the world. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Stokes podcast. Today, I'm very lucky to have Megan McCann as my guest. Welcome, Megan. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Such a pleasure. It's great to be here.
Amazing. So we'll dive in. So Megan, you're the founder of M1le LONDON, Do It All Clothing on the Go, which I love that tagline, by the way. So why don't you introduce yourself a bit, give us a bit of your background, and then we'll talk about M1le LONDON.
Sure. I'll start with my own background. I am a PR and marketing professional. I used to work in the art industry, working for art festivals, commercial galleries, museums, and all of that within that sector. I'd been freelance for 7 years, so I've been cycling to and from different clients, journeys of 45 minutes plus along the river. And as lockdown happened, as what happened with many people, I lost a lot of my business. And so during the time, especially those first 3 months of the first initial COVID-19 lockdown, I just started thinking about the way I'd been operating my business, the way I'd been running, specifically my commute, because that was a big sticking point for me. Because, you'd be going to these client meetings in fancy suits or nice outfits, and they just get absolutely wrecked on the journey. And so the idea for M1le kind of transpired from that. It was just sort of a natural, well, it would be really great if we could have this trouser, but this trouser doesn't exist. Oh, hang on. I'm now technically unemployed. Why don't I make this trouser? And so, yeah.
You do.
It was like, 1 + 1 = 2. It was very straightforward. And so that's kind of really simply where the idea for M1le came about. And then the more we spoke about it to friends over WhatsApp or in Zooms or calls or anything like that, the more we realized that my own personal problem was experienced by many other people, and everyone was sort of reaching that same sticking point where you had to kind of choose if you were going to cycle in Lycra and then have changing facilities in the office, or whether you could do the journey halfway on the train and then jump on, say, a Santander bike or something like that along the way.
Right, yeah, absolutely. So, M1le LONDON, tell us a bit more about it. So obviously it was birthed in COVID.
Yeah.
And so what is it exactly, like, where are you at and what is exactly that you're selling?
Sure. So as you've said, introduced in the beginning, M1le's a clothing brand that makes do-it-all products for those on the go. We are based in London, and currently we have a men's trouser. It's available in black and navy, and it's basically made up of a material that's heavy enough to mimic a chino trouser or a smart casual trouser, but it's technical enough to accommodate and facilitate the bike commute. So it's got 4-way stretch, water repellent, it's crease-free, quick drying, et cetera, We have like reflective details. So for example, in the back pocket, you can unbutton a reflective tab to be seen on the roads. There's also a reflective lining in the trouser. And so that was our first ever product that came out in 2021, was the launch of that, which we launched via Kickstarter and then on our website as well. And since then, based off of demand, we've had a lot of women come up to us and say, well, women cycle too, which is, of course, as a woman myself, is, I'm like, yes, I know. We've had to fast track our production line in that we were going to do a men's trouser, fine tune it, get it right, get it perfect. And then we were going to maybe in 2 years' time bring out a women's. But we've had quite a increase and steady demand for the women's trouser. And so later on in 2023, we'll be launching a version 1. And the way that M1le works is that we bring out a product live to the market and we send it out there and we say, in the label of the trouser, if you when you're done with your trouser, send it back to us so we can upcycle it, we can renew it and repair it. But also we say to our customers, okay, you've got the trouser in your hands now. What do you like? What don't you like? And then we can use that live feedback. We can work with factories based in London, and we can say, right, and this is exactly what happened with the men's version 1 trouser, in that we did not have the right, obviously looking back on it, we did not have the right reflective pocket liner. So after about 100 trousers had been out there, customers were saying, look, I love the trousers, they're a great fit, but if I were you, I'd change this. And everyone came back with the exact same change. And so it was very easy. We just took 100 pairs over to a factory in London and said, look, this is what we're getting. Could you please tweak it in this way? And now within that same collection, we've been able to upgrade it and improve it based on live feedback. So that's what we'll be doing with the women's trouser now as well, is we're saying, right, you've asked for it, you're going to get it, and then please help us shape it for future editions to come.
Yeah, amazing. And so you talk about getting it mended in London. Are they produced in London?
They're produced in Europe.
Okay, in Europe.
It's a simple cost per unit setup. It's just we wouldn't be able to operate as the business we are now if we produced it solely in the UK.
Right.
It's ridiculous how expensive it is. Not necessarily because it's a quality over quantity, but it's more that the UK manufacturing system just isn't set up for the amount of trims and components we have in the trouser. So our reflective tabs are bonded material. We have 3 different types of buttons. We have like a heat transfer. And once you start to add in all those different suppliers within the UK, it's unviable as a product. But that is the goal. That's the big, I would say 2025 to 2030 goal is everything is made in the UK. Very straightforward, done and dusted. But for now, it's in Europe.
Yeah, no, amazing. And you talk about the material, because obviously it's like a technical material to be waterproof and etc. How easy was that to source? Because I know you were looking for sustainable.
It's been really, really tough. We started off looking at recycled nylon, recycled polyester. We looked at lyocell. We looked at all of the main competitors within the sustainable sportswear market. And we, much to our factory's disappointment, we did something like 10 rounds of prototyping. But yeah, it was very, very, very irritating. But unfortunately, as we found so far to date, not to say that this is, something that won't change, but to date, we haven't been able to find a textile that is 100% recycled or 100% plant-based or sustainable that is heavy enough and sporty enough. So, for example, the ones that were stretchier, and as you know, the second you add stretch to anything, it's immediately not sustainable. So anything that was remotely stretchy or water repellent would sound like a walking trouser when you would be testing them out. So it would be like, or if we went too heavy, then you couldn't have any stretch, or you couldn't have it wouldn't be breathable. For example, we looked at going down the wool route, or we looked at going down like a part linen or a bamboo blend, but then we would lose all the sportier elements of it. So the finding and sourcing the material has been the toughest part, has been the challenge for our brand. The closest we've gotten to is a blend that is 57% recycled polyester with the remaining 43% virgin polyester. So we are by no means have found our nirvana at all in terms of the fabric sampling. We've reached out to a couple of manufacturers that are playing around with overspinning wool. There's a type of wool called Optim wool, shout out for them, that they overspin the wool to the point that it releases its own natural fats, which makes it water repellent. So that's really interesting. And that would tick all of the boxes for us. But it's of course then 20 times the price, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's in the pipeline, and we will continue to do our very best to source, produce, blend however we can. But it's and I say this to everyone, M1le is a studio. We're a design studio that I think every trouser we bring out in the next 5 to 10 years is going to be a test, and it's going to be an experiment, because thankfully for all of us, things are changing very quickly.
Yeah,
Manufacturers are changing, suppliers are changing, and more exciting innovations are coming out. So I feel like we're
absolutely.
just at that beginning of the wave, and anything that crops up, we're very keen to prototype with.
Yeah. And apart from obviously the fabric
Mm.
challenge, what other challenges have you found you've come across in creating this sustainable circular brand?
I think the main challenge for us has been um, navigating. So it's kind of a twofold thing. One is navigating the price point, so to be
Yeah.
accessible. The whole premise or the ethos of the brand is to provide a do-it-all product, so that you don't have to spend hundreds of pounds on lycra to get on a bike. The idea is that you just buy a one-stop shop trouser, you hop on
Yeah.
the bike, you're in the boardroom, you're at home. But unfortunately, creating a do-it-all product is quite expensive, especially when you're operating from a small business perspective. So we're
Hmm.
producing, less than 500 units per collection. And so we're forever being priced out, whether it's because we're not hitting thresholds for, suppliers or manufacturing or et cetera, et cetera. So navigating the price is really difficult. And it's a constant evolving challenge. Sometimes we get it right, but obviously, and I'm sure everyone you're speaking to at the moment is saying, inflation and rising costs is just squeezing and squeezing and squeezing.
Yeah.
So that's our
Mm.
current challenge. But overall, the challenge I'm facing but enjoying and thriving in is this pre-order model. Is saying
Mm.
to our customers, especially with the women's wear, I'm looking forward to when we can get it up on the website and say, right, you asked for it. 1,000
There you
of you have signed up to this wait list, so go on then. Like put your
go.
money
Yeah,
where your mouth is. So
absolutely.
yeah, I'm not going to order it. It's so wasteful. The planet doesn't need
Absolutely.
1,000 trousers, 200 trousers. It doesn't even need 3 extra trousers made. So that we refuse to order anything that's not going to actually be purchased or enjoyed. It's totally wasteful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great.
Mm.
Great idea to do it pre-order. And do you feel like people are open to that?
Yeah, the brand is shaped totally by community feedback, as I said, and so we sent
Right.
out a survey quite recently, actually linked to this women's wear launch, saying, right, here's the deal: we need to order fabric 2 months before we produce the trouser. So, are you interested in putting down a deposit? It would be, say, 30% of the trouser value just to secure your slot or secure your
Hmm.
trouser. And then the second question was, how long would you be willing to wait for that? So
Okay.
93% of respondents said fine to a 30% deposit, which is great.
Rare. Yeah.
And then something like, I think it was 71% said they'd be willing to wait 3 months or less. So we've had a very clear thumbs up from our community saying, we'll pay the deposit, we'll wait for 3 months. And it's now just up to us to plot out that critical path, make sure everything is going to align, and then pray to the angels above that nothing goes wrong.
Yeah, because how long will it take to produce? Do you have any
Oh,
idea? Like, oh,
yeah, it becomes the fabric right is 60 days lead time,
okay.
and then when the fabric lands at the factory, by that point everything else will have arrived, within the factory, and then the factory says 6 to 8 weeks. So in theory, it's a 4 month process. So what I've been trying to do is set this pre-order early to just sort of build up a threshold, and then say, week by week, okay, we've got 2 more weeks, add to the threshold, so that by the
Hmm.
time we have to place a fabric order, everyone's been geared up, they've put down their deposits, and then we can just keep things updated and rolling. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Hmm.
I think the more transparent you are as a brand and the more personal you are as a brand, the better your response, because people get it.
Yeah.
It's when you have your walls up and you act, like a big corporate, you start to lose interest, I think, from everyday customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think authenticity and just being honest and transparent with what's going on, um, that's, people value that
Yeah, I hope
without a
so.
doubt. Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure. And even that's like one of the trends that is moving into with customer experience.
Mm.
Because when I teach at the university, we look at like different like trends for sustainability and in the fashion industry, and they're talking a lot about authenticity and transparency, obviously, but authenticity in your communications, in what you're doing. Even if you're not 100% sustainable, don't say you are.
Yeah,
be
totally.
honest, talk about it, because it'll backlash anyway if you're not, upfront. So it's very much about authentic marketing and communication. So I think it's vital. I think there's a huge shift just in general as we move from kind of this old paradigm into a new paradigm. And I think the way we do business is shifting, just the same as consumers, the way they're consuming, or we're all consuming because we're all consumers, but it's shifting. Yeah. We're all becoming more mindful and more conscious.
I think as well, consumers nowadays, because we have access to so much information, whether it's just a general Google search or whether you're on social media or, you're on YouTube, your TikTok, your Instagram, wherever you are, knowledge is quite literally at your fingertips. So you are now able to make such informed decisions about where you purchase from, where your items are being sourced. Even I'm going to a wedding and my Google search, say 5 years ago would have been wedding guest dress or something like that. It would have been a really simple blah, 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 and I'd see whatever popped up. But now I can say organic, cotton, secondhand, sustainably driven wedding guest dress, and then instantly I've got hundreds of options at my fingertips. And that's just the front page of Google, never mind like Vinted, Depop, eBay. It's amazing. So to not be conscious now and aware as a consumer, and then obviously responding to that as a brand, it seems ridiculous. It's not, businesses are going to implode, I think, in the next decade if you don't keep up with where people are going and what they're looking for from a brand. Yeah,
absolutely. I think as a brand, if you're not being honest and transparent and you're not being sustainable, or at least moving towards that, whatever that is you're doing, I think in 5 years' time, like no one's going to be interested.
Yeah.
If that's not if that's not part of your values and your roadmap. And that's sustainability on all levels, social sustainability, prosperity for all, and obviously environmental.
But I think that's also, I can obviously say this from a perspective of being like, a fresh startup. And so for me, it's very easy to be agile or to adjust or to jump wherever I need to. But there are moments when we've been looking into another product or thinking about the women's wear trouser where I've gone, well, if we can't reach this level of sustainability, or if we can't reach this, ethical threshold or anything like that, then I don't want to do it. Because it's a freeing and liberating moment, but it's also a scary moment to think, actually, this is a terrible idea. I know exactly how this is going to go. And we won't have any leg to stand on in future years if we go down that route. And it's a cool time, I think, to be a brand. It's also a great time for all of us. Hopefully we're all gonna I'm really interested to see where we are as a collective society by 2030.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially the fashion industry, because I think it's been rather slow compared to a lot of industries. And I feel like COVID sped it up actually, because people began to stop and realize a lot of different things. And I think even just people as consumers, they realized how they have all this stuff and that really they don't need it.
Totally.
Make them happier. And that's not to say we'll stop buying things, because we live in the world we live in and we're still going to be buying things, but it's just being more mindful. And now, like you said, it's kind of like a choice if you're not choosing to be conscious and aware, because it's so easy just to Google.
Exactly.
It's not that difficult anymore. There's no excuse really, is there?
I think
I agree. It's exciting times.
I think we're at a stage now as well, with our premise being the idea that you can have a multi-purpose, do-it-all trouser. I think people are now expecting more from their clothes. I think that there is a big expectation that it's not just going to be, back in the day, you'd spend £5 or something on an outfit for one occasion, and that would be it. And then it would go in a bin bag, or it would, go to the charity shop. But I think now people are expecting clothes to be better quality. They're expecting your clothes to last, and they're also expecting your clothes, to be almost seasonless, or to be, stand the test of time, because we need products that can adapt and that can continue to stay with us. And it's, personally from my own experience, that's the feedback we've had, is people saying, we had somebody who he rides a fixed gear bike and does wheelies, and it's a customer that does wheelies and stuff in our trousers. And he DMs me on Instagram, like his what he was up to. And at like 2:00 in the morning one day, I got a DM from him, and he'd done some tricks on the streets in London, fallen over the top of his bike, skidded on his knees, and ripped the knees of his mile trousers.
Oh, no.
And he sent me these like bloody knees, being like, "Oh my God, look what I've done!" And I, obviously woke up the next day, and I was like, "I'm really sorry that our mile trousers ripped." I instantly went into this whole customer service line of, "Please accept my sincere apologies. We did not really test them." Instead, he said, "No, it's great. I'm now going to have shorts made." And he went and took our mile trousers to a seamstress, had these shorts made, and then cycled from London to Amsterdam in his like custom mile shorts. And so what we ended up doing is, we had some returns of mile trousers last spring. So we decided, we're going to follow his plan. And we had shorts made from returned trousers. And it was amazing. We had the customers that came and bought shorts from us were totally different from the customers that were buying trousers. They were, hikers, playing golf in them in the summer and all of that. And it all stemmed from, one of our customers just doing a wheelie and it ending badly.
I love it that he sent that to you. That's
great.
It
was so funny. Yeah. With like hard, like rock and roll music playing in the background. It's like, wow. Yeah.
So Megan, how do you envision the future of fashion?
Oh, that is such a big question. I envision the future of fashion. Well, my utopian dream of the future of fashion is an industry or a sector that is led by customer demand. I firmly believe that we shouldn't be making anything more, like off the cuff. But obviously, as a brand, I would like to make more products. But I don't think we should be making any more than is expected or asked of us. I think producing with the prospective number or an expectation that a sale might come is incredibly irresponsible, given our current the climate crisis around us. So my fashion future would be pre-orders. It would be limited collections. It would be customer-based or customer-focused products, and it would be upcycling and recycling. One of my I don't want to say it's a pipe dream. I just haven't allocated any tangible brain capacity to it. But my goal for M1le, I keep thinking it would be amazing if we could like find trousers that already exist, and then sort of upcycle them to the M1le trouser. So if there were really nice chinos around or hiking trousers around, we could sort of, I think my designer Jacob would kill me for saying this, but we could like Frankenstein them. We could like bring them in, tweak them, get them the M1le cut, recoat them, tidy them up. It would be amazing. That's totally what I think we should be doing. We've got stuff here. We are surrounded by stuff. Why are we producing more? Let's sort of take stock of all. Anyway, I could go on like a massive like degrowth rant about my future for fashion, but I think the way we've operated is not appropriate for where we're going, basically.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, the system has to change, because it's, there's, it's urgent now.
I think it's a lot to do with margins, and it's a lot to do with the cost of goods, until the industry as a whole stands up to it. There's always going to be another fast fashion company. There's always going to be another factory willing to do it for, $1 a unit. There's always going to be someone. But I think it's kind of up to the mid-weights or maybe even the smaller brands to really just start to take a stand and say to consumers, right, follow us this way if you want to have an alternative setup, and hopefully it might unfortunately be a generational shift, but it's unfortunately just going to be the way it is until the sector as a whole stands up to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think regulations and policy put in place. Yeah. Because I think whilst fast fashion still exists on the high street, let's say, people, or on our Instagram, people are just going to keep clicking that button or walking in, because there is such a disconnect between the clothes we wear. Like, we all think a lot about food and the food we eat, but not that as many people are thinking about the clothes they wear. And that's one of the things that I talk about a lot, and it's really important to me to connect with what's on your skin, because no one's really thinking about it. They just get dressed every day and that's it. Oh, I like this, I like that, and oh, this is cool and that. And it's so easy to be seduced by fast fashion for the price, and because we've kind of been like educated to think that a t-shirt costs, I don't know, €5 and that's okay. Yeah. When you see a t-shirt for like €60, people are like, that's so expensive, how could you purchase like a white t-shirt? Well, it's like, well, actually that's how much it probably should cost.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also, if you look at it from a sort of a social and cultural lens, even just things on, I follow a lot of fashion-y or mensweary people on Instagram under the M1le brand. And all the unboxing videos and look at these new amazing gifts I've been given, or, I've got cargo pants in every color, or, it permeates through. And if you're seeing these influencers with hundreds of thousands of followers, like celebrating a new pair of shoes or showing off their crazy closet that's got like 1,000 pairs of untouched Nike shoes, then like, what do we expect, especially when there's like younger generations watching this content going, wow, that's really cool, I wish I could have 1,000 pairs of Nike trainers. And it's really, I mean, having said that, I know on TikTok specifically, the eco fashion and the sustainable fashion trends and if you join that algorithm, you start to see some amazing stuff. It's just, how do we stop operating within a vacuum, and it starts to become the norm? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Megan. I've absolutely loved our conversation. Thank you for coming on.
Such a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Where can we find M1le online?
So you could type in M1le London to Google, but it's M1le London, or you could go to onemilelondon.com, and that's ONE mile MILE London.com. We've got men's trousers for sale currently, and we also have the women's wear waitlist, so you could be the first to pre-order as we launch later this year.
Very exciting. Thank you once again. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Have a lovely, lovely day.
You too. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please subscribe to the Lou Stokes podcast. Rate and review in the Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're tuning in from. I'd be so grateful. Also, check out the show notes to learn more about my guests and learn more about me on my website, www.loustokes.com. Until next time, be inspired, take action, and be the change you want to see in the world.